We'll start with the verses recited before the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudhirayet srinmatam swapadaan krishna punyasravana kirtanaha hridyantasto hi abhadrani vidhunoti suhrit satam नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिके. Before reciting the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Naranarayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is prized with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact.
Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai.
Ki jai.
Okay, today we start a new chapter. Now the answers. Who will want to read first?
I can start. Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Yes, Prabhu.
Haribol. Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 1. Answers recited by Sukadev Goswami. Shri Sukha Uvacha Atmamayamrite Rajan Parasyanubhavatmana Nagate Tartha Sambandha Swapna Drashtur Ivanjasa. Synonyms. Shri Sukha Uvacha. Shri Shukadev Goswami said, Atma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mayayam, energy, Tite, without, Rajan, O King, Parasya, of the pure soul, Anubhav Atmana, of the purely conscious, No, never, Gateta, it can so happen, Artha, meaning, Sambandha, relation with the material body, Swapna, dream, Drashtu, of the seer, Iva, like it, Anjasa, completely. Translation. Shri Sukadev Goswami said, O king, unless one is influenced by the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no meaning to the relationship of the pure soul in pure consciousness with the material body. It is just like the dreamer seeing his own body working. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The question of Maharaj Parikshit is perfectly answered as to how a living entity began his material life. Although he is apart from material body and mind, although he is apart from the material body and mind, the spirit soul is distinct from the material conception of his life, but he is absorbed in such a material conception because of being influenced by the external energy of the Lord, called Atmamaya. This is already explained in the first canto of in connection with Vyasadev's realization of the Supreme Lord and his external energy. The external energy is controlled by the Lord, and the living entities are controlled by the external energy by the will of the Lord. Therefore, although the living entity is purely conscious in his pure state, he is subordinate to the will of the Lord in being influenced by external energy of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita also the same thing is confirmed. Bhagavad Gita 15:15, that the Lord is present within the heart of every living entity. Sarvasya chaham hridisam nivishto. And the conscious and all conscious and forgetfulness of living entity are influenced by the Lord. Now the next question will automatically be made as to why the Lord influences the living entity to such consciousness and forgetfulness. The answer is that the Lord clearly wishes that every living entity be in his pure consciousness as the part and parcel of the Lord, and thus be engaged in the loving service of the Lord as he is constitutionally made. But because the living entity is partially independent also, he may not be willing to serve the Lord, but may try to become as independent as the Lord is. The whole non-devotee class of living entities are all desirous of becoming equally uh, where it is, are all desirous of becoming equally as powerful as the Lord, although they are not fit to become so. The living entities are illusioned by the will of the Lord because they wanted to become like Him. As a person thinks of becoming a king without possessing the necessary qualification, similarly, the living entity desires to become the Lord Himself. He is put in a condition of dreaming that he is a king. Therefore, the first sinful will of the living entity is to become the Lord, and the consequent will of the Lord is that the living entity forgets his fractual life and thus dreams of the land of Ethiopia, where he may become one like the Lord. The child cries to have the moon from the mother, and the mother gives the child a mirror to satisfy the crying and disturbing child with the shadow of the moon. Similarly, the crying child of the Lord is given over to the shadow of the material world to lord it over as karmi and to give this up in frustration to become one with the Lord. Both these stages are dreaming illusions only. There is no necessity of tracing out the history when the living entity desired this. Can you go down to? But the fact But the fact is that as soon as he desires such, he was put under the control of Atma Maya by the direction of the Lord. Therefore, the living entity in his material condition is dreaming falsely that this is mine and this is I. The dream is that the conditioned soul thinks of his material body as I, or falsely thinks that he is the Lord and that everything in connection with that material body is mine. Thus, in dream only, the misconception of I and mine persists life after life. This continues life after life, as long as the living entity is not purely conscious of his identity as the subordinate part and parcel of the Lord. In his pure consciousness, however, there is no such misconceived dream, and in that pure consciousness, in that pure conscious state, the living entity does not forget that he is never the Lord, but that he is eternally the servitor of the Lord in transcendental love. Text 2.
Haribol, this was really nice. Purport, this answered the, if anyone saw yesterday, the person who posted the Reddit question, I think this was like answer to that. What it was. Here, let's see. Someone asked like this. If this jiva is born and again because of karma and the goal is to go back to our Satchidananda self, why did the first batch even take place? So now in this purport, I think we got the answer. Okay, Haribol, let's continue.
This is the most common question asked by almost everyone in the world.
Yes, Prabhu, this comes often, but this requires them to even understand that there could be some place beyond the material world.
Right, it is definitely a valid question, okay, because we get life only due to the past karma, okay. So when we took the very first birth, there was no karma at all. So how did Krishna avoid a material body when there was no karma at all for us? Okay, so that's the
It was
basic
said that the
question.
first living entity is Brahma. Like everyone first is born as a Brahma. It is said like that. I heard
Yes,
in
Prabhu.
Prabhupada's. Yeah. Because we want to lord it over the material nature. So Brahma, the creator.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, this is true. I think this is Luvesh Prabhu's answer. He has given this. But this purport was also really nice.
Hmm.
where the part was. Please.
In fact, George Babu says that it is mostly predestined as well, but destiny always relies on the karma, okay, past deeds, as far as I know. Okay, so if you consider the very first birth, there is no destiny at all. There is no karma, so there is no destiny either. This Bhagavatam is a vast subject, okay? We can perform thesis on this subject matter as well.
So, Prabhu, what is the topic I have actually missed, so I want to know.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Shubham Prabhu, Dandar Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
And Lord Pranam to all of you, Jai Prabhupada.
Yeah, in fact, Swami Prabhu received a question on Reddit yesterday from someone asking him when we receive material bodies due to our past karma or past deeds, so how did you get the very first body, material body, when there was no karma at all? So the answer to this question lies in this purport. That's what he is searching for right now.
Yes, Prabhu. But we're not gonna answer him now because Vesh Prabhu already answered him.
Let us continue with the
Yes,
Yeah,
Prabhu.
he might have already answered it, but in case he missed any piece of information in it, you can maybe add on top of it.
Yes, Prabhu.
text 2. बहुरूप इवा भाति मायया बहुरूपया रममानो गुणेश्वस्य ममाहम इति मन्यते. Synonyms: Bahurupa, multiforms, Iva, as it were, Abhati, manifested, Mayaya, by the influence of the external energy, Bahurupaya, in multifarious forms, Ramamana, enjoying as it were, Guneshu, in the modes of different qualities, Asya, of the external energy, Mama, mine, Aham, I, Iti, thus Manyate, things. Translation: the illusion living entity appears in so many forms which are offered by the external energy of the Lord, and the engaged living entity, while enjoying in the modes of material nature, misconceives thinking in terms of I and mine. But the different forms of the living entities are different dresses offered by the illusory external energy of the Lord, according to the modes of nature desired to be enjoyed by the living being. The external material energy is represented by her three modes, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. So, even in the material nature, there is a chance of an independent choice by the living entity, and according to his choice, the material energy offers him different varieties of material bodies. There are 900,000 varieties of material bodies in the water, 2 million vegetable bodies, one what's that 11 lakh worms, 1.1 million worms and reptiles, 1 million forms of birds, 3 million different bodies of beasts, and 400,000 human forms. Altogether, there are 8.4 million varieties of bodies in different planets of the universe, and the living entity is traveling by so many transmigrations according to different modes of enjoying spirit within himself. Even in one particular body, the living entity changes from childhood to boyhood, from boyhood to youth, from youth to old age, and from old age to another body created by his own action. The living entity creates his own body by his personal desires and the external energy of the Lord supplies him the exact form by which he can enjoy his desires to the fullest extent. The tiger wanted to enjoy the blood of another animal, and therefore, by the grace of the Lord, the material energy supplies him the body of tiger with facilities for enjoying blood from another animal. Similarly, a living entity desiring to get the body of a demigod in the higher planet can also get it by the grace of the Lord. And if he is intelligent enough, he can desire to get a spiritual body to enjoy the company of the Lord, and he will get it. So, the minute freedom of the living entity can be fully utilized, and the Lord is so kind that he will award him the same type of body that he desires. It is like dreaming of a golden mountain. A person knows that what a mountain is, and he knows also what gold is. Out of his desire only he dreams of a golden mountain. And when the dream is over, he sees something else in his presence. He finds himself in his awkward state that there is neither gold nor a mountain, and what to speak of a golden mountain. The different positions of the living entities in the material world under multifarious manifestations of bodies are due to the misconception of mind and I. The karmi thinks of this world as mine, and the jnani thinks I am everything. The whole material conception of politics, sociology, philanthropy, altruism, etc., are conceived by the conditioned souls is on the basis of this misconceived I and mine, and this I and mine are produced of a strong desire to enjoy material life. Identification of the body and the place where the body is obtained under different conceptions of socialism, nationalism, family, affection, and so on and so forth is all due to forgetfulness of the real nature of living entity, and the whole misconception of the bewildered living entity can be removed by the association of Sukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, as all this is explained in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Text 3. यर्हिवाव महिम्नि स्वे परस्मिन् कालमाययो रमते गतसम्मोहस्त्यक्तोदास्ते तदोभयम्. Synonyms: Yarhi, at any time; Vava, certainly; Mahimni, in the glory; Svi, of himself; Parasmin, in the supreme; Kala, time; Mayayo, also the material energy; Rameta, enjoys; Gata Sammoha, being freed from misconception; Tyaktva, giving up; Udasate, in fullness; Tada, that; Ubhayam, both. Translation: As soon as the living entity becomes situated in his constitutional glory and begins to enjoy the transcendence beyond time and material energy, he at once gives up the two misconceptions of life, mine and I, and thus becomes fully manifested as the pure self. Purport: The two misconceptions of life, namely I and mine, are verily manifested in two classes of men. In the lower state of the conception of mine is very prominent, and the higher state the misconception of I is prominent. In the animal state of life, the misconception of mine is perceivable, even in the category of cats and dogs, and they fight with one another with the same misconception of mine. In the lower stage of human life, the same misconception is also prominent in the shape of it is my body, it is my house, it is my family, it is my caste, it is my nation, it is my country, and so on. And in the higher stage of speculative knowledge, the same misconception of mind is transformed into I am, or it, it is all I am, or I, etc. There are many classes of men comprehending the same misconception of I and mine in different color. But the real significance of such I can only be realized when one is situated in the consciousness of I am the eternal servitor of the Lord. This is pure consciousness, and the whole Vedic literatures teaches us this conception of life. The misconception of I am the Lord or I am the Supreme is more dangerous than the misconception of mine. Although there are sometimes direction in the Vedic literatures to think oneself one with the Lord, that does not mean that one becomes identified in every respect with the Lord. Undoubtedly, there is oneness of the living entity with the Lord in many respects, But ultimately, the living entity is subordinate to the Lord, and he is constitutionally meant for satisfying the senses of the Lord. Can you go down? The Lord therefore asks the conditioned souls to surrender unto him. Had the living entities not been subordinate to the supreme will, why would the living entity be asked to surrender? Had the living being equal in all respects, then why was he put under the influence of Maya? We have already discussed many times that the material energy is controlled by the Lord. The Bhagavad Gita confirms this controlling power of the Lord over the material nature. 9.10 Maya Adhyakshena Prakriti. Can a living entity who claims to be as good as the Supreme Being control the material nature? The foolish I would reply that he would do so in the future. Even accepting that in the future one would be as good as a controller of the material nature as the Supreme Being, then why is he now under the control of material nature? The Bhagavad Gita says that one can be freed from the control of the material nature by surrendering unto the Supreme Lord. But if there is no surrender, then the living entity will never be able to control the material nature. So, this misconception of I must also be given up by practicing the way of devotional service or firmly being situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. A pure man without any employment or without any occupation may undergo so many troubles in life. But if by chance the same man gets a good service under the government, he at once becomes happy. There is no profit in denying the supremacy of the Lord, who is the controller of all energies. But one should be constitutionally situated in one's own glory, namely, to be situated in the pure consciousness of being the eternal servitor of the Lord. In his conditional life, the living entity is servant of the illusory Maya, and in his liberated state, he is the pure, unqualified servant of the Lord. To become untinged by the modes of the material nature is the qualification for entering into the service of the Lord. As long as one is servant of mental concoctions, one cannot be completely free from the disease of I and mine. The supreme truth is without any contamination of the illusory energy, because he is the controller of that energy. The relative truths are apt to be engrossed with illusory energy. The best purpose is, however, served when one is directly facing the supreme truth, as when one faces the sun. The sun overhead in the sky is full of light, but when the sun not in the visible sky, all is in darkness. Similarly, when one is face to face with the Supreme Lord, he is freed from all illusions, and one who is not so is in darkness of illusory Maya. The Bhagavad Gita confirms this as follows. Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatitetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Bhagavad Gita 14:26. So the science of Bhakti Yoga or of worshipping the Lord, glorifying the Lord, hearing the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from the right sources, not from the professional man, but from a person who is Bhagavatam in life and being always in the association of pure devotees, should be adopted in earnestness without being misled by conception of I and mine. The karmis are fond of the conception of mind, and the jnanis are fond of the conception of I, and both of them are unqualified to be freed from the bondage of illusory energy. Srimad Bhagavatam and primarily the Bhagavad Gita are both meant for delivering a person from the misconception of I and mine, and Srila Vyasadeva transcribed them for the deliverance of the fallen souls. The living entity has to be situated in the transcendental position where there is no more influence of time nor of the material energy. In the conditioned life, the living entity is subjected to the influence of time in the dream of past, present, and future. The mental speculator tries to conquer the influence of time by future speculation of becoming Vasudev or the Supreme Lord himself by means of culture of knowledge and conquering over ego. But the process is not perfect. The perfect process is to accept Lord Vasudev as the supreme in everything, and the best perfection of culturing knowledge is to surrender unto him because he is the source of everything. In that conception only one can one get rid of the misconception of I and mine. Both Bhagavad Gita and the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam confirms it. Srila Vyasadeva has specifically contributed to the illusioned living entities, the science of God, and the process of Bhakti Yoga in his great literature Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and the conditioned souls should fully take advantage of this great science. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. If anyone else can continue, many devotees are there. Hare Krishna, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Gaura Shakti Prabhu, Tandar Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Vishnu Prabhu, Tandar Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Is there anyone else new? No. Text number 4. Atma Tattva Visuddhyartham Yad Aha Bhagavan Ritam Brahmane Darshayan Rupam Avyalika Vrata Drita. Atma Tattvam, the science of God, or that of the living entity. Vishuddhi, purification. Artham, goal. Yat, that which. Aha, said. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Ritam, in reality. Brahmane, unto Lord Brahma. Darshayan, by showing. Rupam, eternal form. Avyalika, without any deceptive motive. Vrita, vow. Adrita, worshipped. Translation. By His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O King, the personality of Godhead, being very much pleased with Lord Brahma, because of his non-deceptive penance in Bhakti Yoga, presented his eternal and transcendental form before Brahma, and that is the objective goal for purifying the conditioned soul. Purport. Atma Tattvam is the science of both God and the living entity. Both the Supreme Lord and the living entity are known as Atma. The Supreme Lord is called Paramatma or Parabrahma, and the living entity is called the Atma or the Brahma or the Jiva. Both the Paramatma and the Jivatma, being transcendental to the material energy, are called Atma. So Shukadev Goswami explains this verse with the aim of purifying the truth of both the Paramatma and the Jivatma. Generally, people have many wrong conceptions about both of them. The wrong conception of the Jivatma is to identify the material body with the pure soul, and the wrong conception of Paramatma is to think him on an equal level with the living entity. But both misconceptions can be removed by one stroke of Bhakti Yoga. Just as in the sunlight, both the sun and the world and everything within the sunlight are properly seen. In the darkness, no one can see the sun, nor himself, nor the world. But in the sunlight, one can see the sun himself and the world around him. Srila Sukadev Goswami therefore says that for purification of both wrong conceptions, the Lord presented his eternal form before Brahmaji. Being fully satisfied by Brahma's non-deceptive vow of discharging Bhakti Yoga, except for Bhakti Yoga, any method for realization of Atma Tattva or the science of Atma will prove deceptive in the long run. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that only by Bhakti Yoga can one know Him perfectly, and then one can enter into the science of God. Brahmaji undertook great penance in performing Bhakti Yoga, and thus he was able to see the transcendental form of the Lord. His transcendental form is 100% spiritual, and no one can see him only by spiritualized vision after proper discharge of tapasya or penance in pure bhakti yoga. The form of the Lord which was manifested before Brahma is not one of the forms with which we have experience in the material world. Brahmaji did not perform such severe types of penance just to see a form of material production. Therefore, the question of Maharaj Parikshit about the form of the Lord is answered. The form of the Lord is Satchidananda, or eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. But the material form of the living entity is neither eternal nor full of knowledge nor blissful. That is the distinction between the form of the Lord and the form of the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul, however, can regain his form of eternal knowledge and bliss simply by seeing the Lord by means of Bhakti Yoga. The summary is that Due to ignorance, the conditioned soul is engaged in the temporary varieties of material forms. Is this engaged or engaged? This is engaged, yeah. But the Supreme Lord has no such temporary form like the conditioned souls. He is always possessed of eternal form of knowledge, bliss, and that is the difference between the Lord and the living entity. One can understand this difference by the process of Bhakti Yoga. Brahma was then told by the Lord the gist of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in 4 original verses. The Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is not a creation of the mental speculators. The sound of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is transcendental, and the resonance of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is as good as that of the Vedas. Thus, the topic of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the science of both the Lord and the living entity. Regular reading or hearing of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is also performance of Bhakti Yoga. And one can attain the highest perfection simply by the association of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Both Shukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit attained perfection through the medium of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Dibol. Is this long one? Okay, text number 5. Sa adidevo jagatam paro guru svadishnayam ashtaya shishrikshayakshata tamna jagatshadrishamatra sammatam prapancha nirmana vidiryaya bhavet. Sahahi Adideva, the first demigod, Jagatam of the universe, Paraha supreme, Guruhu, the spiritual master, Svarishnyam, his lotus seed, Ashtaya, to find out the source of it, Shishrikshaya, for the matter of creating the universal affair, Aikshata began to think, Tam, in that matter, Na, could not, Adyagachat, understand, Drisham, the direction, Atra, therein, Sammatam, just the proper way, Prapancha, material, Nirmana, construction, Vidhi, process, Yaya, as much as Bhavet should be. Translation. Lord Brahma, the first spiritual master, supreme in the universe, could not trace out the source of his lotus seeds. And while thinking of creating the material world, he could not understand the proper direction for such creative work, nor could he find out the process for such creation. Purport. This verse is prelude for explaining the transcendental nature of the form and the abode of the Lord. In the beginning of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, it is already said that the Supreme Absolute Truth exists in his own abode without any touch of the deluding energy. Therefore, the kingdom of God is not a myth, but actually a different and transcendental sphere of planets known as the Vaikunthas. This will also be explained in this chapter. Such knowledge of the spiritual sky, far above this material sky and its paraphernalia, can be known only by dint of devotional service or bhakti yoga. The power of creation by Lord Brahma was also achieved by bhakti yoga. Brahmaji was bewildered in the matter of creation, and he could not even trace out the source of his own existence. But all this knowledge was fully achieved by him through the medium of bhakti yoga. By bhakti yoga, one can know the Lord, and by knowing the Lord as the Supreme, one is able to know everything else. One who knows the Supreme knows everything else. That is the version of all Vedas. Even the first spiritual master of the universe was enlightened by the grace of the Lord. So who else can attain perfect knowledge of everything without the mercy of the Lord? If anyone desires to seek perfect knowledge of everything, he must seek the mercy of the Lord, and there is no other means. To seek knowledge on the strength of one's personal attempt is a sheer waste of time. See, don't waste time, Prabhus. Read the Bhagavatam, Haribol. Okay, who wants to read the next verse?
I'll read, Prabhu.
Haribol. Yes, Prabhu.
Text 6. Sachintayan द्व्यक्षरन्मेकदां भ्यसि उपाश्रृणोद् गदितं वचो विभुः स्पर्शेषु यत् षोडशम् एकविंशं निष्किञ्चनानां नृपयद् धनं विदुः. Synonyms. Saha, he, chintayan, while thus thinking, dvi, two, aksharam, syllables, ekada, once upon a time, ambhasi, in the water, upashrinot, heard it nearby, dvihi, twice, gaditam, uttered, vachaha, words, vibhuhu, the great, sparsheshu, of the sparsha letters, yat, which, shodasam, the 16th, ekavimsham, and the 21st, niskinchananam, of the renounced order of life, nripa, O king, yat, what is, dhanam, wealth, viduhu, as it is known. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. While thus engaged in thinking in the water, Brahmaji heard twice from nearby two syllables joined together. One of the syllables was taken from the 16th and the other from the 21st of the Sparsha alphabets, and both joined to become the wealth of the renounced order of life. Purport. In Sanskrit language, the consonant alphabets are divided into two divisions, namely the Sparsha Varnas and the Talavya Varnas. From Ka to Ma, the letters are known as the Sparsha Varnas, and the 16th of the group is called Ta, whereas the 21st letter is called Pa. So, when they are joined together, the word tapa or penance is constructed. This penance is the beauty and wealth of the Brahmanas and the renounced order of life. According to Bhagavata philosophy, every human being is what is it? Simply, every living being is meant simply for this tapa and for no other business. Because by penance only can one realize his self, and self-realization, and not, one second, bro. And not sense gratification is the business of human life. This tapa or penance was begun from the very beginning of the creation, and it was first adopted by the supreme spiritual master, Lord Brahma. By tapasya only can one get the profit of human life, and not by a polished civilization of animal life. The animal does not know anything except sense gratification in the jurisdiction of eat, drink, be merry, and enjoy. But the human being is made to undergo tapasya for going back to Godhead, back to home. When Lord Brahma was perplexed about how to construct the material manifestations in the universe and went down within the water to find out the means and the source of his lotus seat, he heard the word tapa vibrated twice. To take the path of tapa is the second birth of the desiring disciple. The word upashrinot is very significant. It is similar to upanayana, or bringing the disciple nearer to the spiritual master of the spiritual master for the path of tapa. So Brahmaji was thus initiated by Lord Krishna, and this fact is corroborated by Brahmaji himself in his book, the Brahma Samhita. In the Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma has sung in every verse Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Thus, Brahma was initiated by the Krishna mantra by Lord Krishna himself, and thus he became a Vaishnava or a devotee of the Lord before he was able to construct the huge universe. It is stated in the Brahma Samhita that Lord Brahma was initiated into the 18 letter Krishna mantra, which is generally accepted by all the devotees of Lord Krishna. We follow the same principle because we belong to the Brahma Sampradaya directly in the disciplic chain from Brahma to Narada, from Narada to Vyasa, from Vyasa to Madhva Muni, from Madhva Muni to Madhavendra Puri, from Madhavendra Puri to Ishvara Puri, and from Ishvara Puri to Lord Chaitanya, and gradually to His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, our Divine Master. One who is thus initiated in the disciplic succession is able to achieve the same result or power of creation. Chanting of this holy mantra is the only shelter of the desireless pure devotee of the Lord. Simply by such tapasya or penance, the devotee of the Lord achieves all perfections like Lord Brahma. Text 7. निशम्य तद् वक्तृधृक्षया दिशो विलोक्य तद्रान्यद् अपश्यमानः स्वधिष्णयम् आस्थाय विमृश्य तद्धीतं तपस्युपादिष्टा इवाधधे मनः. Synonyms. Nishamya, after hearing that Vaktr, the speaker, Didrikshaya, just to find out who spoke, Dishaha, all sides, Vilokya, by seeing Tatra, there, Anyat, any other, Apashyamanaha, not to be found, Swadhishnayam, on his lotus seat, Asthaya, sit down, Vimrishya, thin king, Tat, it, Hitam, welfare, Tapasi, in penance, Upadishtaha, as he was instructed, Iva, in pursuance of Adadhe, gave Manaha, attention. Translation. When he heard the sound, he tried to find out the speaker, searching on all sides. But when he was unable to find anyone besides himself, he thought it wise to sit down on his lotus seat firmly and give his attention to the execution of penance as he was instructed. Purport. To achieve success in life, one should follow the example of Lord Brahma, the first living creature in the beginning of creation. After being initiated by the Supreme Lord to execute tapasya, he was fixed in his determination to do it, and although he could not find anyone besides himself, he could rightly understand that the sound was transmitted by the Lord himself. Brahma was the only living being at that time because there was no other creation and none could be found there except himself. In the beginning of the first canto, first chapter, first verse of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, it is already mentioned that Brahma was initiated by the Lord from within. The Lord is within every living entity as the super soul, and he initiated Brahma because Brahma was willing to receive the initiation. The Lord can similarly initiate everyone who is inclined to have it. As already stated, Brahma is the original spiritual master for the universe, and since he was initiated by the Lord himself, the message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is coming down by disciplic suction, and in order to receive the real message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, one should approach the current link or spiritual master in the chain of disciplic suction. After being initiated by the proper spiritual master in the chain of succession, one should engage himself in the discharge of tapasya in the execution of devotional service. One should not, however, think himself on the level of Brahma to be initiated directly by the Lord from inside, because in the present age no one can be accepted to be as pure as Brahma. The post of Brahma to officiate in the creation of the universe is offered to the most pure living being, and unless one is so qualified, one cannot expect to be treated like Brahmaji directly, but one can have the same facility through unalloyed devotees of the Lord and scriptural instructions as received in the Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam especially, and also the bona fide spiritual master available to the sincere soul. The Lord Himself appears as the spiritual master to a person who is sincere in heart to serve the Lord. Therefore, the bona fide spiritual master who happens to meet the sincere devotee should be accepted as the most confidential and beloved representative of the Lord. If a person is posted under the guidance of, of such a bona fide spiritual master, it may be accepted without any doubt that the desiring person has achieved the grace of the Lord. Text 8. Divyam Sahasrabdam Mamogha Katasra O Srano. दिव्यं सहस्राब्धम् अमोघ दर्शनो जितानिलात्मा विजितो भयेन्द्रियः अतप्यता स्माखिल लोक तापनम तपीयांस तपताम समाहितः. Synonyms. Divyam, pertaining to the demigods in the higher planets. Sahasra, 1000. Abdam, years. Amogha, spotless, without a tinge of impurity. Darshanaha, one who has such a vision of life. Jita, controlled. Anila, life. Atma, mind. Vijita, controlled over. Ubhaya, both. Indriyaha, one who has such senses. Atapyata, executed penance. Sma, in the past. Akhila, all. Loka, planet. Tapanam, enlightening. Tapaha, penance. Tapiyan, extremely hard penance. Tapatam, of all the executors of penances. Samahitaha, thus situated. Please make a note of this word Atma here. See, Atma here means mind. Look at the fourth line of the synonyms. Atma here is mind. Atma also means spiritual soul. Atma also means body.
Yes, Prabhu. This is also this tapiya.
That, yeah, that is
word.
that is the beauty of the Sanskrit language.
Yes, Prabhu.
You have to derive the meaning of a particular word in regards to the context of the verse or statement.
Yes, Prabhu.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's right. Very nice.
Translation. Lord Brahma underwent penances for 1000 years by the calculations of the demigods. He heard this transcendental vibration from the sky and he accepted it as divine. Thus, he controlled his mind and senses, and the penances which he executed were a great lesson for the living entities. Thus, he is known as the greatest of all ascetics. Purport. Lord Brahma heard the occult sound tapa, but he did not see the person who vibrated the sound. And still he accepted the instruction as beneficial for him, and therefore he engaged himself in meditation for 1000 celestial years. One celestial year is equal to, what is it, 6 times, 30 times, 12 times, is it times 1000 of our years? Yeah. His acceptance of the sound was due to his pure vision of the absolute nature of the law. And due to his correct vision, he made no distinction between the Lord and the Lord's instruction. There is no difference between the Lord and the sound vibration coming from him, even though he is not personally present. The best way of understanding is to accept such divine instruction, and Brahma, the prime spiritual master of everyone, is the living example of this process of receiving transcendental knowledge. The potency of transcendental sound is never minimized because the vibrator is apparently absent. Therefore, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam or the Bhagavad Gita or any revealed scripture in the world is never to be accepted as an ordinary mundane sound without transcendental potency. One has to receive the transcendental sound from the right source and accept it as a reality and prosecute the direction without any hesitation. The secret of success is to receive the sound from the right source of a bona fide spiritual master. Mundane manufactured sound has no potency, and as such, seemingly transcendental sound received from an unauthorized person also has no potency. One should be qualified enough to discern such transcendental potency, and either by discriminating or by fortune, fortunate chance, if one is able to receive the transcendental sound from the bona fide spiritual master. His path, his path of liberation is guaranteed. The disciple, however, must be ready to execute the order of the bona fide spiritual master as Lord Brahma executed the instruction of his spiritual master, the Lord himself. Following the order of this bona fide spiritual master is the only duty of the disciple, and this completely faithful execution of the order of the bona fide spiritual master is the secret of success. Lord Brahma controlled his two grades of senses by means of perception and sense organs because he had to engage such senses in the execution of the order of the Lord. Therefore, controlling the senses means to engage them in the transcendental service of the Lord. The Lord's order descends in discipline suction through the bona fide spiritual master, and thus execution of the order of the bona fide spiritual master is factual control of the senses. Such execution of penance in full faith and sincerity made Brahmaji so powerful that he became the creator of the universe. And because he was able to attain such power, he is called the best amongst the tapasvis. Text 9. तस्मै स्वलोकं भगवान् सभाजितः सन्दर्शयामास परं न यत् परं व्यपेत संक्लेश विमोह साध्वसमं स्वदृष्टवद्भिर्पुरुषैरभिष्टुतम्. Synonyms. Tasmai, unto him, Swalokam, his own planet or abode. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Sabhajitaha, being pleased by the penance of Brahma. Sandarshayamasa, manifested. Param, the supreme. Na, not. Yet, of which Param, further, supreme. Pepeta, completely given up. Sanklesha, five kinds of material afflictions. Vimoha, without illusion. Sadhvasam, fearfulness of material existence. Swadrishtavadbihi, by those who have perfectly realized the self. Purushaihi, by persons. Abhishtutam, worshipped by. Translation. The personality of Godhead, being thus very much satisfied with the penance of Lord Brahma, was pleased to manifest his personal abode, Vaikuntha, the supreme planet above all others. This transcendental abode of the Lord is adored by all self-realized persons freed from all kinds of miseries and fearfulness of illusionary existence. Purport. The troubles of parents accepted by Lord Brahma were certainly in the line of devotional service bhakti. Otherwise, there was no chance of Vaikuntha or Swalokam, the Lord's personal abodes, becoming visible to Brahmaji. The personal abodes of the Lord, known as Vaikunthas, are neither myth nor material as conceived by the impersonalists, but such realization of the transcendental abodes of the Lord is possible only through devotional service, and thus the devotees enter into such abodes. There is undoubtedly trouble in executing penance, but the trouble accepted in executing bhakti yoga is transcendental happiness from the very beginning, whereas the trouble of penance in other processes of self realization, namely jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, etc., without any Vaikuntha realization, ends in trouble only and nothing more. There is no profit in biting husk without grains. Similarly, there is no profit in executing troublesome penances other than Bhakti Yoga for self-realization. Execution of Bhakti Yoga is exactly like sitting on the lotus sprouted out of the abdomen of the transcendental personality of Godhead, for Lord Brahma was seated there. Brahmaji was able to please the Lord, and the Lord was also pleased to show Brahmaji his personal abode. Srila Jiva Goswami narrates in the comments of his Karma Sandarbha annotation of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam quotations from the Garga Upanishad Vedic evidence. It is said that Agnavalkya described this transcendental abode of the Lord to Gargi, and it is said there that the abode of Lord is situated above the highest planet of the universe, namely Brahmaloka. This abode of the Lord, although described in the relieved scriptures like the Bhagavad Gita and the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, remains only a myth for the less intelligent class of men with a poor fund of knowledge. Herein, the word Swadrishtavadbhihi Sadrishtavadbhihi is very significant. One who has actually realized his self realizes the transcendental form of one's self. One who has actually realized his self realizes the transcendental form of one's self. Impersonal realization of self and the supreme is not complete because it is just an opposite conception of material personalities. The personality of Godhead and the personalities of devotees of the Lord are all transcendental. They don't have material bodies. The material body is overcast with five kinds of miserable conditions, namely ignorance, material conception, attachment, hatred, and absorption. As long as one is overwhelmed with these five kinds of material miseries, there is no question of entering into the Vaikuntha Lokas. Impersonal conception of oneself is just the negation of the material personality, far from the positive existence of personal form. These personal forms of the transcendental abode will be explained in the following verses. Brahmaji is also described this highest planet of the Vaikuntha Loka as Goloka Vrindavan. Brahmaji also described this highest planet of the Vaikuntha Loka as Goloka Vrindavan, where the Lord resides as a covered by boy, keeping transcendental Surabhi cows and surrounded by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. Chintamani, Prakara, Sadmasu, Kalpavriksha, Lakshavriteshu, Surabhir, Abhipalayantam, Lakshmi, Sahasra, Sata, Sambharama, Sevyamanam, Govindam, Adi Purusham, Tam Ham Bhajami. 529. Brahma Samhita. The statement of the Bhagavad Gita Yadgatvana nirvartante tad dhama paramam mama is also confirmed herein. Param means transcendental Brahma. Therefore, the abode of the Lord is also Brahma, not different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is known as Vaikuntha, and his abode is also known as Vaikuntha. And such Vaikuntha realization and worship can be made possible by transcendental form and sense. Text प्रवर्तते यत्र रजस्तमस्तयोः सत्वं च मिश्रं न च काल विक्रमः न यत्र माया किम उतापरे हरेर अनुव्रता यत्र सुरासुरार्चितः synonyms प्रवर्तते prevail yatra wherein rajah tamaha the modes of ignorance and passion tayoh both of them sattvam the mode of goodness cha and mishram mixture na never cha and kala time vikramah influence na neither yatra therein maya illusory external energy kim what uta there is apare others hare of the personality of Godhead, Anuvratah, devotees, Yatra, wherein, Sura, the demigods, Asura, the demons, Achitaha, worshipped. Translation. In that personal abode of the Lord, the material modes of ignorance and passion don't prevail, nor is there any of their influence in the matter of goodness. There is no predominance of the influence of time. So, what to speak of the illusory external energy that cannot enter in that region? Without discrimination, both the demigods and the demons worship the Lord as devotees. Purport. The kingdom of God or the atmosphere of Vaikuntha nature, which is called the Tripada Vibhuti, is 3 times bigger than the material universes and is described here as also in the Bhagavad Gita in a nutshell. This universe containing billions of stars and planets is one of the billions of such universes clustered together within the compass of Mahatattva. And all these millions and billions of universes combined together constitute only 1/4 of the magnitude of the whole creation of the Lord. There is the spiritual sky also. Beyond the sky, the spiritual planets are there under the names of Vaikuntha, and all of them constitute 3/4 of the entire creation of the Lord. God's creations are always innumerable. Even the leaves of a tree cannot be counted by a man, nor the hairs on his head. However, foolish men are puffed up with the idea of becoming God Himself, though unable to create a hair of their own bodies. Man may discover so many wonderful vehicles of journey, but even if he reaches the moon by his much advertised spacecraft, he cannot remain there. The sane man, therefore, without being puffed up as if he were the god of the universe, abides by the instructions of the Vedic literature, the easiest way to acquire knowledge in transcendence. So, let us know through the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam of the nature and constitution of the transcendental world beyond the material sky. In that sky, the material qualities, especially the modes of ignorance and passion, are completely absent. The mode of ignorance influences a living entity to the habit of lust and hankering, and this means that in the Vaikuntha Lokas, the living entities are free from these two things. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Brahma Bhuta stage of life, one becomes free from hankering and lamentation. Therefore, the conclusion is that the inhabitants of the Vaikuntha planets are all Brahma Bhuta living entities as distinguished from the mundane creatures who are all compact in hankering and lamentation. When one is not in the modes of ignorance and passion, one is supposed to be situated in the mode of goodness in the material world. Goodness in the material world also at times becomes contaminated with the touches of the modes of passion and ignorance. In the Vaikuntha Loka, it is unalloyed goodness only. The whole situation there is one of freedom from the illusionary manifestation of the external energy. Although illusionary energy is also part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, still illusionary energy is differentiated from the Lord. The illusionary energy is not, however, false as claimed by the monist philosophers. The rope accepted as a snake may be an illusion to a particular person, but the rope is a fact and the snake is also a fact. The illusion of water on the hot desert may be illusion for the ignorant animal searching out water in the desert. But the desert and the water are actual facts. Therefore, the material creation of the Lord may be an illusion to the non-devotee class of men, but to a devotee, even the material creation of the Lord is a fact and the manifestation of his external energy. But this energy of the Lord is not at all. The Lord has his internal energy also, which has another creation known to be the Vaikuntha Lokas, where there is no ignorance, no passion, no illusion, and no past and present. With a poor fund of knowledge, one may be unable to understand the existence of such things such as the Vaikuntha atmosphere, but that does not nullify its existence. That spacecraft cannot reach these planets does not mean that there are no such planets, for they are described in the revealed scriptures. As quoted by Srila Jiva Goswami, we can know from the Narada Pancharatra that the transcendental world or the Vaikuntha atmosphere is enriched with transcendental qualities. These transcendental qualities, as revealed through the devotional service of the Lord, are distinct from the mundane qualities of ignorance, passion, and goodness. Such qualities are non-attainable by the non-devotee class of men. In the Padma Purana, Uttarakanda, it is stated that beyond the one-fourth part of God's creation, there is the three-fourths part manifestation. The marginal line between the material manifestation and the spiritual manifestation is the Viraja river, and beyond the Viraja river, which is a transcendental current flowing from the precipitation perspiration of the body of the Lord, there is the three-fourths part manifestation of God's creation. This part is eternal, everlasting, without any deterioration, and unlimited, and contains the highest perfectional stage of living conditions. In the Skanda Kaumudi, it is stated that unalloyed goodness or transcendence is just opposite to the material modes. All living entities are eternally associated with without any break, and the Lord is the chief and prime entity there. In the Agama Puranas, also, the transcendental abode is described as follows. The associ- the associated members there are free to go everywhere within the creation of the Lord, and there is no limit to such creation, particularly in the region of the three-fourths magnitude. Since the nature of that region is unlimited, there is no history of such association, nor is there end of it. The conclusion may be drawn that because of the complete absence of the mundane qualities of ignorance and passion, there is no question of creation nor of annihilation. In the material world, everything is created and everything is annihilated, and duration of life between the creation and annihilation is temporary. In the transcendental realm, there is no creation and no destruction, and thus the duration of life is eternal unlimitedly. In other words, everything in the in the transcendental world is everlasting, full of knowledge and bliss without any deterioration. Since there is no deterioration, there is no past, present, and future in the estimation of time. It is clearly stated in this verse that the influence of time is conspicuous by its absence. The whole material existence is manifested by actions and reactions of elements which make the influence of time prominent in the matter of past, present, and future. There are no such actions and reactions of cause and effects there. So the cycle of birth, growth, existence, transformations, deterioration, and annihilation, or the six material changes are not existent there. It is the unalloyed manifestation of the energy of the Lord without any illusion as experienced here in the material world. The whole Vaikuntha existence proclaims that everyone there is a follower of the Lord. The Lord is the chief leader there without any competition of leadership, and the people in general are all followers of the Lord. It is confirmed in the Vedas, therefore, that the Lord is the chief leader, and all other living entities are subordinate to him, as only the Lord satisfies all the needs of all other living entities. Text 11. श्यामावधातः शतपत्रलोचनाः पिशाङ्ग वस्त्राः सुरुचः सुपेशसः सर्वे बाहव उन्मीषन् मणि प्रवेक निष्काभरणः सुवर्चसः. Synonyms: श्यामा sky, bluish; अवधातः glowing; शतपत्र lotus flower; लोचनः eyes; पिशांगा yellowish; पिशंगा yellowish; वस्त्राः clothing; सुरुचः greatly attractive; सुपेशसः growing, youthful; सर्वे all of them; चतुः four; बाहवः hands; unmission rising luster; mani pearls; praveka superior quality; nishka abharanah ornamental medallion; suvarchasah effulgent. Translation: the inhabitants of the Vaikuntha planets are described as having a glowing skin, bluish complexion. Their eyes resemble the lotus flower. Their dress is of yellowish color, and their body features very attractive. They are just the age of growing youths. They all have four hands. They all are nicely decorated with pearl necklaces with ornamented medallions, and they all appear to be effulgent. Who wants to become like this? Purport. The inhabitants in Vaikuntha Loka are all personalities with spiritual bodily features not to be found in the material world. We can find the descriptions in the revealed scriptures like Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Impersonal descriptions of transcendence in the scriptures indicate that the bodily features in Vaikuntha Loka are never to be seen in any part of the universe. As there are different bodily features in different places of a particular planet, or as there are different bodily features between bodies in different planets, similarly, the bodily features of the inhabitants in the Vaikuntha Lokas are completely different from those in the material universe. For example, the four hands are distinct from two hands in this world. Text 12. प्रवाल वैदूर्य मृणाल वर्चसः Parishpuruta Kundala Mauli Malinaha. Synonyms: Pravala, coral; Vaidurya, a special diamond; Mranala, celestial lotus; Varchasaha, rays; Parishpurat, blooming; Kundala, earring; Mauli, heads; Malinaha, with garlands. Translation: Some of them are effulgent like the coral and diamond in complexion and have garlands on their heads, blooming like the lotus flowers, and some wear earrings. Purport: There are some inhabitants who have attained the liberation of Sarupya, or possessing bodily features like that of the personality of Godhead. The Vaidurya diamond is especially meant for the personality of Godhead, but one who achieves the liberation of bodily equality with the Lord is especially favored with such diamonds on the body. Text 13. ब्राजिष्णुभिर् यः परितो विराजते लसद् विमानावलिभिर्महात्मनां विद्योतमानः प्रमदोत्तमाद्युभिः स विद्युद् अभ अभ्रा अभ्रवलिभिर्यथा नभः. Synonyms: Brajishnubihi, by the glowing; Yaha, the Vaikuntha lokas; Paritaha, surrounded by; Virajate, thus situated; Lasat, brilliant; Vimana, airplanes; Avalibihi, assemblage; Maha Atmanam, of the great devotees of the Lord; Vidyotamanaha, beautiful like the lightning; Pramada, ladies; Uttama, celestial; Adyubhihi, by complexion; Savidyut, with electric lightning; Abhravalibihi, with clouds in the sky; Yatha, as it were; Nabaha, the sky. Translation: The Vaikuntha planets are also surrounded by various airplanes, all glowing and brilliantly situated, belonging to the great Mahatmas or devotees of the Lord. The ladies are also as beautiful as lightning because of their celestial complexions, and all these combined together appear just like the sky decorated with both clouds and lightning. Purport: It appears that in the Vaikuntha planets there are airplanes also brilliantly glowing, and they are occupied by the great devotees of the Lord, with ladies of celestial beauty as brilliant as lightning. As there are airplanes, so there must be different types of carriages also like the airplanes, but they may not be driven machines as we have experienced in this world, because everything is of the same nature of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. The airplanes and carriages are of the same quality as Brahman. As there is nothing except Brahman, so it should not be misconceived that there is only void and non variegatedness. To think like that is due to a poor fund of knowledge, otherwise no one would have such a misconception of voidness in the Brahman. As there are airplanes, ladies, and gentlemen, so there must be cities and houses and everything else just suitable to the particular planets. One should not carry the ideas of imperfection from the world to the transcendental world without taking into consideration the nature of the atmosphere as completely free from the influence of time, etc., as described previously. Text 14. Sri Yatra Rupinyurugaya Padayoh Karoti Manam Bahuda Vidhuti Bihi Prenkham Strita Ya Kusumakaranguna Vigiyamana Priya Karma Gayati. Synonyms: Strihi, the good, the goddess of fortune. Yatra, in the Vaikuntha planets. Rupini, in her transcendental form. Urugaya, the Lord who is sung of by the great devotees. Padayo, under the lotus feet of the Lord. Karoti, does. Manam, respectful services. Bahudha, diverse diverse paraphernalia. Vibhuti Bihi, accompanied by her personal associates. Prankham, movement of enjoyment. Srita, taken shelter of. Ya, who. Kusumakara, spring. Anugaihi, by the black bees. Vigiyamana, being followed by the songs. Priyakarma, activities of the dear most. Gayati, singing. Translation: the goddess of fortune, in her transcendental form, is engaged in the loving service of the Lord's lotus feet, and being moved by the black bees, followers of spring. She is not only engaged in variegated pleasure service to the Lord, along with her constant companies, but also she is engaged in singing the glories of the Lord's activities. So there is no concept of male domination in Vaikuntha, which is so prevalent in this world, in this material world. Text 15. ददर्श तत्राखिल सात्वतां पतिं श्रियः पतिं यज्ञपतिं जगत्पतिं सुनंदनंद प्रबलार्हणादिभिः स्व पार्श पार्षदाग्रैः परिसेवितं विधुं. Synonyms: Dadarsha, Brahma sa, Tatra, there in the Vaikuntha Loka, Akhila, entire, Satvatam, of the great devotees, Patim, the Lord, Shriyaha, of the goddess of fortune, Patim, the Lord, Yajna, sacrifice, Patim, the Lord, Jagat, the universe, Patim, the Lord, Sunanda, Nanda, Prabala, Arhana, Adhibihi, by them, Swaparshada, own associates, Agraihi, by the foremost, Parisevitam, being served in the transcendental love, Vibhum, the great Almighty. Translation: Lord Brahma saw in the Vaikuntha planet the personality of Godhead, who is the Lord of the entire devotee community, the Lord of the goddess of fortune, and the Lord of all sacrifices, and the Lord of the universe, and who is served with the foremost servitors like Nanda, Sunanda, Prabala, and Arhana, his immediate associates. Purport: While we speak of the king, it is naturally understood that the king is accompanied by his confidential associates like his secretary, private secretary, aide-de-camp, ministers, advisors, etc. So, also, when we see the Lord, we see him with his different energies, associates, and confidential servitors, etc. So, the Supreme Lord, who is the leader of all living entities, bro, entities, the Lord of all devotee sects, the Lord of opulences, of all opulences, The Lord of sacrifices and the enjoyer of everything in his entire creation is not only the supreme person, but also he is always surrounded by his immediate associates, all engaged in their loving transcendental service to him. Text 16. भृत्या प्रसादिभिमुखं दृगासवं प्रसन्न आसारुण लोचनानं किरीटिनं कुण्डलिनं चतुर्भुजं पीतां सुखं वक्षसि लक्षितं श्रिया. Synonyms: Britya, the servitor; Prasada, affection; Abhimukham, favorably facing; Drik, the very sight; Asavam, an intoxication; Prasanna, very much pleased; Hasa, smile; Aruna, reddish; Lochana, eyes; Ananam, face; Kiritinam, with helmet; Kundalinam, with earrings; Chatuh, Bhujam, with four hands; Pitam, yellow; Shukam, dress; Vakshasi, on the chest; Lakshitam, marked with Shriya, the goddess of fortune. Translation: The personality of Godhead, seen leaning favorably towards his loving servitors, his very sight intoxicating and attractive, appeared to be very much satisfied. He had a smiling face decorated with an enchanting reddish hue. He was dressed in yellow robes and wore earrings and a helmet on his head. He had four hands, and his chest was marked with the lines of the goddess of fortune. Purport: in the Padma Purana Uttarakanda, there is a full description of the Yogapita Yogapita, or the particular place where the Lord is in audience to his eternal devotees. In that Yoga Pitha, the personifications of religiousness, knowledge, opulence, and renunciation are all seated at the lotus feet of the Lord. The four Vedas, namely Rig, Sama, Yaju, and Atharva, are present there personally to advise the Lord. The 16 energies headed by Chanda are all present there. Chanda and Kumuda are the two first door keepers, and at the middle door there are the doorkeepers named Bhadra and Subhadra, and at the last door there are Jaya and Vijaya. Chanda, Kumuda, Bhadra, Subhadra, Jaya, Vijaya. There are other doorkeepers also named Kumuda, Kumudaksha, Pundarika, Vamana, Shankukarna, Sarvanetra, Sumukha, etc. The palace is well decorated and protected by the above mentioned doorkeepers.
Oh, there's so many doorkeepers. Even Vamana is there.
Yeah, but I don't understand
Is
the
this the
real
same
necessity.
Vamana?
No, it may be different. No, it's not the same Mama.
Yes, bro.
Okay. But the thing is, I don't understand the real necessity of having the doorkeepers in the Vaikuntha Loka. Who is going to trespass the Vaikuntha Loka?
Yes, Prabhu. I was thinking also sometime this. Yes, Prabhu. I was gonna ask this in some Q&A sometime, but I never asked it. Why there is
Yeah.
where there is the gatekeeper if no one can go there?
Yeah, but we can understand uh, that it is the kind of opulence of the Lord holding in the Vaikuntha planet. Okay, that's all. Because no one has
Yes,
any
Lord.
capacity.
Just like Sanak Sanandan has gone and castrated Prabhu, so this type of people is stopping them.
Yeah, the four Kumaras, they went there.
Exactly,
And
but
then the Jai Vijay got cursed. Yeah.
yes, that's fine. But see, only the authorized people will be able to enter the Vaikuntha planet with the Lord's permission. Okay, in this case, it is just a leela. Okay, it's just a pastime. Just happened because of some kind of incarnation to take place in the in the material world. Okay, but generally, no one dare to enter the Vaikuntha planet without God's permission.
So Prabhu once Dvasamuni was also gone in Vaikuntha. Prabhu.
That's another see story of a devotee called Ambarish. Okay, when he was what was the story? Yeah, when he was followed by the Sudarshan Chakra to ask the forgiveness from the Lord, he had to enter the Vaikuntha planet. I hope you are talking about the same uh, situation or the story.
Yeah, yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. No, he had no other chance. Okay, he had to go to Vaikuntha to beg for pardon to get rid of that Sudarshana Chakra. But a general fact, there is no one who can enter the Vaikuntha planet without God's consent.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Text. This is 17, I think. 17. Adhyarhyam niya asanam आस्थितं परं वृतं चतुषोडश पञ्च शक्तिभिः युक्तं भगैः स्वैर् इतरत्र चाध्रुवैः स्व एव धामन् रममाणम् ईश्वरं synonyms Adhyarhamniya, greatly worshipable, Asanam, throne, Astitam, seated on it, Param, the supreme, Vratam, surrounded by Chatuh, four, namely Prakriti, Purusha, Mahat, and ego. Shodasa, the 16, Pancha, the five, Shaktibihi, by the energies, Yuktam, empowered with Bhagaihi, his opulences, Swaihi, personal, Itaratra, other minor provinces, Cha, also Adhruvaihi, temporary, Swa, own, Eva, certainly, Dhaman, abode, Ramamanam, enjoying, Ishwaram, the Supreme Lord. Translation. The Lord was seated on his throne and was surrounded by different energies like the four, the 16, the five, and the six natural opulences, along with other insignificant energies of the temporary character. But he was the factual Supreme Lord enjoying his own abode. Purport. The Lord is naturally endowed with his six opulences, namely, he is the richest in wealth, he is the most powerful, he is the most famous, he is the most beautiful, he is the greatest in knowledge, and he is the greatest renouncer as well. And for his material creative energies, he is served by four namely the principles of Prakriti, Purusha, Mahatattva, and Ego. He is also served by the 16, namely the five elements earth, water, air, fire, and sky, the five perspective perceptive sense organs, namely the eye, ear, nose, tongue, and skin, and the five working sense organs, namely the hand, leg, the stomach, the evacuation outlet, and the genitals. Together with the mind, there are 16 in all, and the five includes the sense objects, namely form, taste, smell, sound, and touch. All these 25 items serve the Lord in the material creation, and all of them are personally present to serve the Lord. The insignificant opulences numbering 8, the Ashtasiddhis, attained by yogis for temporary overlordship and are also under his control. But he is naturally full with all such powers without any effort, and therefore he is the Supreme Lord. The living being by severe penance and performances of bodily exercises can temporarily attain some wonderful power, but that does not make him the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord, by his own potency, is unlimitedly more powerful than any yogi. He is ultimately more learned than any jnani. He is unlimitedly richer than any wealthy person. He is unlimitedly more beautiful than any beautiful living being, and he is unlimitedly more charitable than any philanthropist. Maybe go up, Prabhu, a little bit. Yeah, philanthropist. He is above all, and no one is equal to or greater than him. Nor can anyone reach his level of perfection in all the above powers by any amount of performance of penance or yogic demonstration. The yogis are dependent on his mercy. Out of his immensely charitable disposition, he can award some temporary powers to the yogis because of the yogis hankering after them. But to his unalloyed devotees who don't want anything from the Lord save and accept his transcendental service, the Lord is also pleased that he gives himself in exchange for unalloyed service.
Okay, final verse. How long
Text
it is?
18. Text 18. तद्दर्शनाह्लाद परिप्लुतान्तरों हृष्ट्या तनुः प्रेम भराश्रुलोचनः ननाम पादाम्बुजम् अस्य विश्वसृग् यत् पारमहंस्येन गम्यते. Synonyms. Tat. By that audience of the Lord, Darshana, audience, Ahlada, joy, Paripluta, overwhelmed, Antaraha, within the heart, Rishyat, full in ecstasy, Tanuh, body, Prema Bhara, in full transcendental love, Ashru, tears, Lochana, in the eyes, Nanama, bowed down, Padambujam, under the lotus feet, Asya, of the Lord, Vishwagsrg, the creator of the universe, Yat, which Paramahamsyena, by the great liberated soul, Patha, the path, Adhigamyate, is followed. Translation. Lord Brahma, thus seeing the personality of Godhead in his fullness, became overwhelmed with joy within his heart and thus in full transcendental love and ecstasy, his eyes became full with tears of love. He thus bowed down before the Lord. That is the way of highest perfection for the living being, Paramahamsa. Purport. In the beginning of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, it is stated that this great literature is meant for the Paramahamsas. Parama Nirmatsaranam Satam. That is, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is meant for such persons who are completely free from malice. In the conditioned life, the malicious life begins from the top, namely bearing malice against the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Personality of Godhead is an established fact in all the revealed scriptures, and in the Bhagavad Gita, the personal feature of the Supreme Lord is especially mentioned, so much so that in the last portion of the great literature, it has been emphatically stressed that one should surrender unto the Personality of Godhead to be saved from the miseries of life. Unfortunately, persons with impious backgrounds do not believe in the personality of Godhead, and everyone wants to become God himself without any qualification. This malicious nature in the conditioned soul continues even up to the stage when a person wants to be one with the Lord, and thus even the greatest of the empiric philosophers speculating on becoming one with the Supreme Lord cannot become a Paramahamsa because the malicious mind is there. Therefore, the Paramahamsa stage of life can only be attained by those who are fixed in the practice of Bhakti Yoga. This Bhakti Yoga begins if a person has the firm conviction that simply discharging devotional service to the Lord in full transcendental love can elevate him to the highest perfectional stage of life. Brahmaji believed in this art of Bhakti Yoga. He believed in the words of the Lord to execute tapa, and he discharged the function with great penance and thus achieved the great success of seeing the Vaikuntha Lokas and the Lord also by personal experience. No one can reach the abode of the Supreme Lord by any mechanical means of the mind or machine, but one can reach the abode of the Vaikuntha Lokas simply by following the process of Bhakti Yoga, because the Lord can be released, Lord can be realized only through the Bhakti Yoga process. Lord Brahmaji was actually sitting on his lotus seat, and from there, by executing the process of Bhakti Yoga in great seriousness, he could see the Vaikuntha Lokas with great variegatedness, as well as the Lord in person and his associates. Following in the footsteps of Lord Brahma, any person, even up to this day, can attain the same perfection by following the path of the Paramahamsa as recommended herein. Lord Chaitanya also approved of this method of self-realization for men in this age. One should first, with all conviction, believe in the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and without making efforts to really realize him by speculative philosophy. One should prefer to hear about him from the Bhagavad Gita and later on from the text of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. He should hear such discourses from a person Bhagavatam and not from the professional man, nor from the karmi, jnani or yogi. This is the secret of learning the science. One does not need to be, scroll down, bro, scroll down. One does not need to be in the renounced order of life. He can remain in his present condition of life, but he must search out the association of a bona fide devotee of the Lord and hear from him the transcendental message of the Lord with faith and conviction. This is the path of the Paramahamsa recommended herein. Amongst various holy names of the Lord, he is called also Ajita, or one who can never be conquered by anyone else. Yet, he can be conquered by the Paramahamsa path as is practically realized and shown by the great spiritual master Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma has personally recommended this Paramahamsa Pantha in his own words as follows. Jnane prayasam udapasya namanta eva jivanti sanmukha ritam भवदीय वार्तं स्थाने स्थिताः श्रुति गतां तनुवान् मनोहभिर् ये प्रायोषु जितोऽप्यसि तैस्त्रिलोक्यम् त्रिलोक्याम्. Lord Brahma said, O my Lord Krishna, a devotee who abandons the path of empiric philosophical speculation aimed at becoming merged in the existence of the Supreme and engages himself in hearing your glories and activities from a bona fide sadhu or saint, and who lives an honest life in the occupational engagement of his social life, can conquer your sympathy and mercy even though you are Ajita or unconquerable by anyone. Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam 10:14-3. That is the path of the Paramahamsas, which was personally followed by Lord Brahma and later on recommended by him for attaining perfect success in life.
Bor. Okay, now we go to
So,
the Dhamma
Prabhu,
Darshakam. Yes, Prabhu.
so limbs, our limbs of body, they are also personalities, Prabhu, in spiritual world.
No, Prabhu, all limbs of body are like from matter. But in spiritual world, everything is personal.
No, bro, there was description that there is also five Gyanendriyas and Karmendriyas in Vaikuntha. They were treated.
Right, they are present as their personification serving the Lord there. But every living entity in the Vaikuntha planet are transcendental. There is no matter at all in Vaikuntha. That means there is no material body at all in Vaikuntha. Everything is spiritual.
Yes, Prabhu. In material world, there is a demigod who is controlling every limb of the body.
In the above verse, it is said that all those limbs or the material parts of the body are serving the Lord in Vaikuntha. Go, Prabhu. Maybe go back to that verse. Okay. It is never said in any of the above verses that living entities in Vaikuntha Loka are with the material body. Maybe in the purport, Prabhu. Come down. See. He is also served by the 16, namely the 5 elements earth, water, air, fire, and sky. The 5 perceptive sense organs, namely the eye, ear, nose, tongue, and skin. And the 5 working sense organs, namely the hand, leg, stomach, evacuation outlet, and general. Together with the mind, there are 16 in all, and the 5 includes the sense objects, namely uh, form, taste, smell, sound, and all these 21 items serve the Lord in the material creation, and all of them are personally present to serve the Lord.
Means they are also a transcendental person.
Yes, they are present there as in their original forms.
Hmm.
Just like another living entity. Is it clear, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu.
Even the, see those 5 elements as well. Earth is present in the form, okay, in its personification, water as well, air as well, fire also, and sky as well.
Yes, I think this means in material creation everything is serving the Lord, because everything is as part and parcel of the Lord's body. They are everything serving him.
Right, in the
Similarly,
material creation. But in the Vaikuntha planet, they are personally present and serving the Lord there.
yes, Prabhu. What verse was it where we ended?
18.
Okay, now we go to Damodarashtakam. What is the time in India? Oh, it's way too late. Because
That's
I'm
okay.
living in because here it is only 6 o'clock now. So I was
Yeah,
thinking like,
it's 9:30 now here. PM. Okay. नमामीश्वरं सच्चिदानन्दरूपं रसत्कुण्डलं गोकुले भ्राजमानं यशोदाभियोलुकलाब्धवमानं परं हृष्टमत्यन्ततो धृतिगोप्या. Maybe shall I continue and complete it in a single go?
yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, रुदन्तं मुहुर्नेत्रयुग्मं रुजन्तं करम्भोजयुग्मेन शातङ्कनेत्रं मुहुश्वासकम्पात्रिरेकाङ्ककण्ठा चितग्रैव दामोदरं भक्तिबद्धम् इति दृक्सलिलाब्धिरानन्दकुण्डे स्वघोषं निमज्जन्तमाख्यापयन्तं तदिहेषु दग्नेषु भक्तेर्चितत्वं पुनः प्रेमतस्तं सतावृत्ति वन्दे वरं देवमोक्षं न मोक्षं वदीं वा वरुण वरेशादपीहं वरं देवमोक्षं न मोक्षां वदीं वा न चान्यं वृणेऽहं वरेशादपीहाम् इदं देवपूर्णाता गोपालबालं सदा मे मनस्याविरास्तां किमन्यैः इदं ते मुकाम्भोजमत्यन्तनीलैर्हृतं कुन्तलैस्निग्धरक्तैश्च गोप्या मुहुचुम्बितं बिम्बरक्ताधरं मे मनस्याविरास्ताम् अलं लक्षलाभैः नमो देवदामोदरानन्तविष्णो प्रसीद प्रभो दुःखजालाब्धिमग्नं कृपादृष्टिवृष्ट्यातिदीनं बतानु गृहाणेश मामज्ञं विद्यक्षिदृश्यः कुबेरात्मजो बद्धमूर्त्यैव यद्वत् त्वया मोचितो भक्तिभाजौ कृतौ च तथा प्रेम भक्तिं स्वकामे प्रयच्छ न मोक्षे ग्रहो मेऽस्ति दामोदरेह नमस्तेऽस्तु धाम्ने स्फुरद्दीप्तिधाम्ने त्वदीयोदराय विश्वस्य धाम्ने नमो राधिकायै त्वदीयप्रियायै नमो अनन्तलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यम्. Translation. To the Supreme Lord, whose form is the embodiment of eternal existence, knowledge, and bliss, whose sharks shaped earrings are swinging to and fro, who is beautifully shining in the divine realm of Gokula, who, due to the offense of breaking the pot of yogurt that his mother was churning into butter and then stealing the butter that was kept hanging from a swing, is quickly running from the wooden grinding mortar in fear of Mother Yashoda, but who has been caught from behind by her, who ran after him with the greater speed. To that Supreme Lord Sri Damodara, I offer my humble obeisances. Seeing the whipping stick in his mother's hand, he is crying and rubbing his eyes again and again with his two lotus hands. His eyes are filled with fear, and the necklace of pearls around his neck, which is marked with 3 lines like a conch shell, is shaking because of his quick breathing due to crying. To this Supreme Lord, Sri Damodara, whose belly is bound not with ropes but with his mother's pure love, I offer my humble obeisances. By such childhood pastimes as this. He is drowning the inhabitants of Gokula in pools of ecstasy and is revealing to those devotees who are absorbed in knowledge of his supreme majesty and opulence that he is all only conquered by devotees whose pure love is imbued with the intimacy and is free from all conceptions of awe and reverence. With great love, I again offer my obeisances to Lord Damodara hundreds and hundreds of times. O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for the boon of impersonal liberation, nor the highest liberation of eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon which may be obtained by executing the nine processes of bhakti. O Lord, I simply wish that this form of yours as Balagopala in Vrindavana may ever be manifest in my heart. For what is the use to me of any other boon besides this? O Lord, your lotus face, which is encircled by locks of soft black hair tinged with red, is kissed again and again by Mother Yashoda, and your lips are reddish like the bimba fruit. May this beautiful vision of your lotus face be ever manifest in my heart. Thousands and thousands of other benedictions are of no use to me. O Supreme God, Godhead, I offer my obeisances unto you. O Damodara, O Ananta, O Vishnu, O Master, O my Lord, be pleased upon me by showering your glance of mercy upon me. Deliver this poor ignorant fool who is immersed in an ocean of worldly sorrows and become visible to my eyes. O Lord Damodara, just as the two sons of Kuvera, Manigreva and Nalakuvera were delivered from the curse of Narada and made into great devotees by you in your form as a baby tied with rope to a wooden grinding motor, is in the same way, please give me your own Prema Bhakti. I only long for this and have no desire for this kind of for any kind of liberation. O Lord Damodara, I first of all offer my obeisances to the brilliantly effulgent robe which binds your belly. I then offer my obeisances to your belly, which is the abode of the entire universe. I humbly bow down to your most beloved Srimati Radharani, and I offer all obeisances to you, the Supreme Lord, who displays unlimited pastimes. दामोदराष्टकम की जय.
जय
प्रभुपाद की शिला प्रभुपाद की जय.
जय चेतो दर्पणमार्जनं भवमहादवाग्निर्वापनं श्रेयः कैरवचन्द्रिका वितरणं विद्यावधूजीवनम् आनन्दं बुद्धिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतस्वादनं सर्वात्मा स्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्णसङ्कीर्तनम्.
नामकारि बहुधा निज सर्वशक्तिस् तत्रार्पिता नियमिता स्मरणीयन कालः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् ममापि दुर्दैवमीदृशं इहाजनि नानुरागः.
त्रिनादपि सुनीचेन तरोरपि सहिष्णुना मानिना मानदेन कीर्तनीया सदा हरि.
न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितां वा जगदीशकामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवताद् भक्तिरहैतुकी त्वयि.
ऐनन्दतनुजा किङ्करं पतितं मां विषमे भवाम्बुधौ कृपया तव पादपङ्कजस्थितदूले सदृशं विचिन्तया.
नैनं गलदश्रुधारया वदनं गद्गदहृदया गिरा पुलकैर्निशितं वपुः कदा तव नामग्रहणे भविष्यति.
युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्राविर्शायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे.
आश्लिष्य वा पादरतां पिनष्टु माम् अदर्शनं मर्महतां करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विदधातु लम्पटो मत्प्राणनाथस्तु स एव नापरः.
Haribol, glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by chanting your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking one so lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service birth after birth.
O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. At some or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet.
O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name?
O Govinda, feeling our separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly in his embrace or makes me broken hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally.
Haribol, Shri Siksastakam ki jai, Chaitanya
Jai,
Mahaprabhu ki jai.
jai.
Bahujanma करे adishavana kirtan taputana paya Krishna pade premadan. If one is infested with the 10 offenses in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, despite his endeavor to chant the holy name for many births, he will not get the love of God. That is the ultimate goal of this chanting. The 10 offenses against the holy name are as follows. The first offense is to blaspheme the devotees who are dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord.
Second offense is to consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu.
Third offense is to disobey the order of the spiritual master or consider him as an ordinary person.
Fourth offense is to blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in pursuance of the Vedic version.
Fifth offense is to consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination.
Sixth offense is to give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord.
Seventh offense is to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name of the Lord.
Eighth offense is to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna one of the auspicious ritualistic activities offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities, Karma Kanda.
Ninth offense is to instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name.
Tenth offense is not to have complete faith in the chanting of the holy names and to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success, Krishna Prema.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They can fulfill the desires of everyone just like these are trees, and they're full of compassion for the fallen condition shows. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa
kripa
sindhyobhya eva
sindhubhyascha
cha
patitanam
patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Ananda Gaudiya Vaishnavinda ki jai, Shri
Jai,
Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaura
jai,
Premanande. Hari Hari
Hari
Bol.
Hari Bol.
Thank you so much for your association, Prabhu. Thank you, Praveen Prabhu, for reading, and see you again
Thank you,
tomorrow.
Prabhu. Hare
Tomorrow we
Krishna.
maybe have Q&A session by Sundar Gopal Prabhu. George Prabhu, please join the Q&A session if we have it. I'm sure we will have it. Hari Bol.
Sure, Prabhu.